Welcome to Expectations Gap. Today we have a very special guest, Marianne Toma, more than 15 years of experience in data science, analytics, and marketing intelligence, with a career spanning Flix, Dell Technologies, Microsoft, Orange, and Vodafone. Marianne has led teams and generated insights in different markets, industries, within different countries. We're excited, or I'm personally excited, to dive into Marianne's perspective on AI. Marianne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Naya. Such an awesome introduction. It's a big pleasure for me to be here today and to speak about a topic that we are both passionate about.
So let's start with, what is AI for you? I'm interested to know, what does it mean?
Okay, cool. For me, I would say AI is an enabler. It facilitates. So if I'm talking on the day-to-day level, it facilitates a lot of things that may have taken much more time or thinking power and energy. So it's definitely an enabler. But also on the work level, it helps with automating. It helps with reaching things faster. So again, it's another enabler on the work side.
So are you more of the optimistic side on the AI?
Oh, yes. I know a lot of people see the dark side. It's not that I don't see it. I see some things, at least for now. But also with how it has helped me over the past, I want to say 10 years, but also
He's like,
yeah. But also, and I'll tell you also why I'm saying 10 years, but especially in the past couple of years, it has taken a big part of how I do things day to day, let's say.
Okay. So can you then tell us about your role and how it intersects with AI?
Okay, cool. So currently I lead a team of data analysts. So I'm in like marketing data analysts. So I'm in the field of using data, analyzing data, but also there's a lot of internal customer presenting and the need of creating presentations, for example. So you want to have that in a way that could be clear for them, that tailors to their own need for understanding really complex topics, but then in a simple or like in a straightforward business way. So sometimes it's helpful in using AI or using, for example, something like ChatGPT in creating a workflow for the slides, how the flow of the slides would look like, what would business owners probably want to hear that is clear for them. So it helps with that. But also, like on the more technical side, I see a lot of use cases where you want to build, for example, an SQL query. You start doing that, but then somewhere you get stuck, and then you can go and ask ChatGPT for why you got stuck, and then it comes up with reasons and how to tweak your query here and there. And as well, the same with Python. There's also like this tool that I was introduced to very recently. It's called Cursor AI. So basically, you write the script and it identifies automatically where the problems are. So you just redo it, or it redoes it for you, and then it runs so fast. So instead of spending a day figuring out where you went wrong with like a Python script, it just does it really fast. And in some situations, also there was I had a previous boss who was also very demanding, and at a point in time he challenged me in something that I had no idea how to do. It wasn't something I wanted to do or had an idea how to do, but I didn't want to say that. So I turned to ChatGPT and I said, okay, this is the input, this is how I want to see the output, please help me with the code. And then I would test bit by bit. Also, it was at the beginning of ChatGPT. It didn't give me everything correct at the beginning, like from the very first go. So I would try it one time, it didn't work, and then I'd prompt it again and say it didn't work this way, and then like one prompt after the other, and I managed with like the code script to reach the output that I had in mind. And so this was ready for whenever, my boss would request something, I would just apply the same code to his request, and I didn't have to say I didn't know how to do it. So I think, yeah, it was cool.
That's cool. But it shows also the additional value of the human brain, I would say, because some people are doubting this. How do you see it playing together? It's not only that I don't think that if your boss asked the ChatGPT or whatever any other tool to get the answer, he will get the same answer, or he will ask it in the same way. And what's your vision to it? Like, how are you directing the tool to get what you think is what you want, that it's making it faster, but you're driving the objective. You have an objective that's clear in mind. And this is where the fine tuning of machine and human interaction is happening, I guess.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I don't think there would be a point in time when a human is not needed. Um, for now, what I see is that most of the output I get, either I have to keep prompting to get better output, to tweak here and there until I get something that I'm satisfied with, or take it out altogether out of, let's say, ChatGPT, and then do the tweakings outside. So if it's a piece of text that I have prompted it for, then I do my own additions and remove the things that don't make sense, because also sometimes there are logical fallacies still there. I mean, it's still a growing beast, let's say. But definitely the human factor is super important. And I, like a year or two ago, I remember when the hype was still starting, there was this course that's called prompting or prompt engineering. And it's like this whole field of knowing how to give the right prompts to AI for it to get you the right output that you're looking for. So it's not like you bombard it with so many things and then you expect it to come out. No, you have to walk with it step by step. This is how you should clarify your prompt. And so it's a really a prompt engineering tool.
Is it this the biggest challenge that you faced with AI, or do you have another challenge?
No, there are many challenges. So AI is not just about ChatGPT. It's
good. Someone is saying it.
yeah, there's way more than that. So if you're talking, let's say now AI is a term that really replaced what we have known for, I'm saying, 10 years. When we talk about data science, data mining, machine learning, all of these are terms that have evolved with time to what we know now as AI. So
Is it AI or the generative part of the AI that everyone is becoming very excited about?
the excitement is definitely on the generative part, because you can see now that there is something that does, a tool that does what you have been trying to do or doing, but much faster and, much clearer. So it's the generative part. But also what feeds into this generative part are the machine learning algorithms behind it. And we've been using that for some time. So in different industries, like you see in Qualcomm, when we were trying to predict churn, or try to predict, for example, which one of the projects I worked on was to try to predict which locations of cell sites would generate more revenue, and those we would start upgrading first if we have an upgrade rollout plan. So those were like how things started and eventually led into the generative side of AI.
So if we can split it, maybe then it was like that you were pushing the machine to generate, but now it's kind of generating on its own.
It's self-learning. It's kind of like a little kid growing. So I'll give you a small example. So a few weeks ago, I was visiting my nephew, and I realized that if I ask him too many questions at the same time, he would just do the last bit. So if I say, okay, please go throw this away and come and I'll give you a big hug. So he comes for the hug. So I have to say, no, go throw this away. He does it. And then when he comes back, I tell him, come get the big hug.
Okay, so this is the same now with ChatGPT.
It's very much the same. You can't just, put a blob of text and request and expect it to come with the things first time out.
Yeah.
If you create an image on any of like either Copilot or ChatGPT, you start with the main thing and then say, okay, but add more color, but make it tailor it for I don't know if you're creating an image
Yeah.
for kids, for example, make it for kids, make it cartoonish, or make it, I don't know, anime. So you keep prompting until you get the final output.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't work. Like I tried a couple of tools for because we have this logic of gift vouchers now in my daughter's age group. So we are creating kind of customizing the gift vouchers for her friends. So we're kind of one of her friends, we were giving her a gift voucher of different activities that they can do together. So we are trying to customize the, like, okay, they can go skating together, they can go movie, and then I used a couple of tools. Leonardo was the one I landed in the end, but also to the last thing, I needed to take the image, I put it in PowerPoint, I needed to adjust the name manually because every time it's just like, and I go in and I'm like, am I writing the name right? Like, and then and it's kind of generated wrong, or one of the things that's wrong, or if I'm writing something in German, it tries to bring it in English in a way. So I needed to write some things myself. So it's
Yeah.
it's still kind of a kid that's trying to grow up. Like we are helping, but it's not doing exactly what we need.
Not yet for sure. There's still a journey for that, and we don't know where that would reach. But the human factor is definitely a big part in the game.
Think how AI will be changing the job profile or the job description in the market or in your industry, in your company. What do you think?
I've seen it already, where if you go into an interview and the interviewee, the person you're interviewing, already doesn't mentions that they don't use AI for reasons they may have. It could be personal reasons they're not comfortable using it, or they maybe started hearing about environmental hazards or any of that. But not using AI within a technical role is now viewed as a red flag somehow, because it's an enabler. It makes you reach things much faster. So not consulting AI, let's say, is already a red flag somehow.
Okay, from the environmental hazards part, then what would you think are the other technical challenges, or what do you feel, or do you see there are ethical challenges um, uh, regarding AI, and how do you perceive it, and how would you maneuver with it or around it?
There are, for me, how I see ethical challenges, I see it on two levels. So there's the level of developing the AI tool itself. So whoever are the big developers out there behind the tools. Some of the ethical challenges have to do with bias. So data that they feed into the models that they are creating or building could be very much biased depending on where this data is coming from. Is it coming from just one group of people, let's say, group of users, and biased against another? So is it more male data versus female data? Is it more white data versus colored data? So, like, all of these biases definitely translate into the output of an algorithm. So that's one thing. Sometimes also we see like cases where the data that has been fed is incorrect. So biased data could be correct data but biased, but also incorrect data. If it's entered, garbage in is garbage out. So that's another ethical problem. And also explainability. So I'd give the example of self-driving cars. A problem with self-driving cars is the AI models that are being built inside it, sometimes because they're also self-learning and they are developing, and it's like a really, really complex network of algorithms inside. You can think of it in terms of our brain neurons, how it's a super complex like exactly, that's the word.
Environment.
There. AI algorithms work in a very similar structure. So let's say one of the bigger topics that has been discussed recently is if a self-driving car hits someone, how are you able to explain why this car made a decision to proceed and hit the target instead of stopping? And based on it, you can sue the company that made it or not. So to try and dig deeper into the explainability of the algorithm, it's very hard, and that also causes a lot of problems. So this is the part where I see there's still a lot of, definitely development on the model building side, but also like there's the ethical side of how we use AI. Just like anything, like how you use the bomb, how you use the internet, how you use anything, it's a double-edged sword. It has its both sides. One of the things I fear is that, and now I'm talking about the generative side of AI, the more we build our slides or build our content, if we're maybe posting online or something like that, if we do that using AI, or the more we use it for creating our thesis, for example, for university or any of that, it may be hard now to detect that we've been using AI, but the more we do that, the less we are inclined to produce our own creativity and our own input that comes from, us. So the more we do that, I feel that we're gonna lose who we are because we're using that.
So I agree with you. I agree that there is a part of fear, but I was reading Kevin Curley's and then The Inevitable. And what I liked about it, because it gave me a superpower in a mode, it's like he was explaining it like if you think you have all what the humanity has already developed until now under your finger, what would be your next step?
Yeah.
He said something like in that context, but this is what clicked with me. Maybe it wasn't exactly what he meant, but I felt like it's very interesting to see if with all what humanity have developed and have created, that you can start from there, not only from your own brain. It's like a kind of an extension of your brain, and then you can even create more. And this is where we can influence AI. We can influence where it's going. We can talk to our children on how to use it, how to ethically use it, and what does it mean to ethically use it, not to lose the human touch.
I like that. It also feeds into my perception of it as an enabler. So it takes you to the next step. Yeah. And maybe this is what makes it really exciting when you ask ChatGPT something and then it comes out with all of the explanation, ideas, further explorations that you can do. Like it saves time for me to try and figure that out on my own, but also gives me the next steps. And it's especially that makes it a big part of my day-to-day now.
Okay, so if you could bust one myth about AI, what would it be?
I think the one that I'm mostly agree with is that AI is not here to replace humans. It's going to replace humans that do not use it or do not make use of it. So, so it's an enabler. So if I see that maybe within the coming 10, 20 years, if there are people who still don't have AI at all within their day-to-day, it's a risk, I would say. But yes, maybe some things can the people or like that we do today, we may not need to do it anymore, but it doesn't mean that it replaces us. It replaces these, like it automates these things, so it frees us to do more, to do beyond.
I like the concept of freeing us because it gives you free time. It gives you kind of free slots on your task list. Put maybe some things for your own time. Okay, what advice would you be giving regarding AI journey, whether to companies or to individuals?
So on the company side, I would say start with your data foundation. Build a solid, sustainable data foundation where you don't have, smaller pipelines built in silos, but build for something more sustainable where you can actually scale as the company grows, if it's still on a small scale, or as this function really grows. Because otherwise you can do patches and then you'll spend much more time trying to put these patches together. So I think a solid data foundation also that includes data validation, monitoring, all of that, it's super crucial.
Data quality,
exactly.
please.
Making sure that it's quality data that goes in, not garbage data that goes in. So I think this is key.
And for individuals?
For individuals, I would say maybe figure out what you want to do out of AI and all the hype that's going around it, because there are so many different roles, and you need to identify which role you want to play. Do you want to be just a user? And that's also amazing. So maybe you want to understand more about the tool. So maybe learn more about how to prompt AI in a way that helps you. So maybe read a little or take a quick course on prompt engineering. But also if you want to be on the more techie side of AI, so you may want to identify whether you want to become an analyst, or you want to become a machine learning engineer, or you want to become a data engineer, or so even within the journey of AI, there are so many different roles. It's not like one person does all of that. In any company, it would have to be a team or teams of different roles playing together. So a team of data engineers, a team of data machine learning engineers, or MLOps, or any of that. So first thing is to identify what exactly you want to be part of, and then dig deeper into that using courses, using like capstone projects and all of that.
How do you personally use AI?
Also find myself going more to ChatGPT or like any of the AI tools rather than Google, for example. So I realized with time that maybe if I ask Google a question, and I always have some question coming up in my mind at any point in time in the day, so I would go to Google and ask. But then Google now also, one of the problems that I face is that because it uses SEO optimization algorithms, people who have like blogs or websites know about that, so they optimize. So they optimize their content to the SEO, and this means that not everything that comes up first could be really useful to what I'm looking for. ChatGPT does what you've just mentioned. It collects everything and brings it to me. And with the improvement in how it does it is that, okay, at the beginning it would just, if I ask a question, it gives me like a paragraph. Now it's more kind of like it answers the questions, then provides more suggestions for anything that I would like to learn more about, or anything that I want to search, and if I want to make sure that it's actually giving me the right info, I would ask it to verify with links. So it will provide the answer with links. So I would go to these links and double check that it's actually giving me the right output. So yeah, I think I use it at least on daily basis, like at least once a day, if not even much more. One other use case is that I'm now having like I'm creating this YouTube channel where I'm storytelling like stories for kids, for them, like bedtime stories for kids, and it just helps me so much with creating the content. And again, this is where the human factor comes in. I may put a headline for what story I want. It would come up with it, and I would have to tailor it and make sure that it's correct, because also it's like stories from the Bible, so I want to make sure it's correct stories and add a little bit of me into how the story would be like. It helps with that. It helps me also with creating the images that I want for the stories, so I don't have to face any copyright issues, for example. And it makes things much faster. So instead of me having to write the entire story end to end, I build upon what it has already created for me. So yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. I think it's for me, it's one of the things that I'm very very happy to be living in these days, because now I'm using that. So
okay, I think we came to the end of it for now, and maybe we will have an extended chat another time. But it's very interesting to talk to you.
same here. You loved it.
Thank you so much. We're happy to have you as our first guest.
Wow.